How do you make $5,000 a month with a social media marketing agency at age 20? Welcome back to my YouTube channel, guys. It's your boy DIVIJ Vaswani. In today's video, I want to talk about how I was making $5,000 a month with a brand new social media marketing agency. If you guys look online, there's so many entrepreneurs talking about the importance of social media. People like Ty Lopez, people like Gary Vaynerchuk. They're all stressing the fact that the best opportunity to actually start making money is by starting a social media marketing agency or a digital marketing agency where you're helping businesses, small or large, build their digital footprint online. You know, there's a lot of different services you can offer. You don't have to just do social media marketing. I think to list out a few, you could do website development, you could do branding and consulting, you could do content creation. I think the best one to start out with is the one that you know the best, right? So I think the reason this market is so huge is because there's so many companies out there which are run and owned by people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, people who are older, who don't really understand the importance of social media. They don't understand how all these different platforms work. Platforms like Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, Facebook. These people didn't grow up in the internet age and they don't understand how these things work, and some of them don't even understand the importance of them, right? So this is where our generation comes in, people between the age of 15 to 25. Not saying people older than us don't understand the internet, but a lot of them don't. But my point is, we really grew up in that age where, you know, we're the smartphone kids. We were the kids kind of growing up with the smartphones in our hands, you know, going through middle school, high school. We were always on our phones, on social media. So this is something that we all understand very well. And that's why I think it's definitely an opportunity for a lot of us younger entrepreneurs to kind of monetize that and grow a business. I'm going to go into a little bit about how I started. So I actually started my company, DIVIJ Media, probably about 8 months ago. And it's a digital marketing company focusing on pretty much four different services. The first one, social media marketing. Second is content creation. Third is branding and consulting. And fourth is website development as well as redevelopment. So companies who need a website, or maybe they've already had one but they want to redo it, that's what we do. So I'm going to talk a little bit about when I first started the company. So when I first started, of course, I went through the legal processes of, you know, getting sole proprietorship set up and going through to make sure that I had all the right permits and business licenses that I needed. So that's always the first thing you want to do. The second thing is you can really just put up a website and start making calls and start doing outreach. That's literally what I did when I first started. I threw up a website on Squarespace. I figured out how to make it. It's very simple to use the Squarespace website. And all I did was pick up the phone and start calling companies. That's literally what I did for 8 to 10 hours a day, was just call companies and ask them if they need help, you know, growing their business through social media. A lot of times you're gonna get rejection. I definitely got a lot of rejection. People were hanging up on me. People were saying, you know, take me off your list, don't bother me. I don't need help, I already have a team. There's a lot of different responses that you're gonna get, but there's also a lot of different ways to counter those responses and get those people interested in your services, okay? So basically the way I did it was calling these companies and say, hey, my name is DIVIJ Vaswani. I have a social media marketing agency. I'm a student at USC. And you know, I would love to help you out with your social media marketing. Do you have 10 minutes to chat? And they would either say no or yes. And if they say no, you can either kind of move on from that, or you can, you know, try to convince them otherwise. So once you get their attention, what you do is you talk about them specifically. You want to talk about what their business is about, you know, ask them questions about where they need help, maybe where they're lacking, how they can grow their revenue, kind of if they're meeting their goals as a company. And then talk about how you can, specifically once you hear what they need, you got to make sure you actually listen to them and hear what they're saying. But once you understand what they need, you kind of start providing value there. So if they say, yeah, you know, we're not seeing as much online, you know, we're not seeing any clients coming online. So you could say, hey, you know what? One part of my business is actually doing website development and helping drive traffic through a website. So that's when they might say, okay, hey, yeah, you know what? We would love to do that. So my first client was actually a company, I'm actually not going to say the name, but it was a contracting company in Long Beach, basically doing, you know, renovations for houses. So actually my pitch to them early on was, hey, I went on your Yelp account and I noticed you guys didn't have a website. I would love to knock that out for you for a couple $100. Sure enough, they said, okay, great, let's do it. Also, you know, selling them on the fact that you're a student can definitely help. I think a lot of people want to help students, and that's something that you could definitely leverage for sure if you are a student. Even if you're not a student, I'm not saying it's good to lie at all. I think honesty is always the best policy. But, you know, sometimes it's you got to do what you got to do. Of course, be ethical, stay moral. That's always important. Basically, you know, sold them, and I always collected 50% of the money up front. So they would PayPal me the money. I would give them my email. Of course, I'd let them know, you know, I would get all the information that I needed in terms of the domain names, getting all the SSL certificates if they're collecting payments online. You want to make sure that you collect all their information, get 50% of the payment up front. That's what I did. And then you actually create the website or whatever service you're offering, you deliver it to them, and that's when you collect the other 50%. Now, a lot of people would actually do it the opposite way, where they would take 100% up front. Some entrepreneurs would take 0 up front and do 100% at the end of the end of the project once the once the deliverable is actually delivered to the client. So I did 50-50 because it helped both ends of the, me as well as the client. It kept us both comfortable. So that's kind of how my business started. I was doing websites for a lot of companies, and mostly companies through Yelp. That's where I was getting their information. I would just go on Yelp.com and call companies, random companies throughout LA and Orange County. And then my second method of lead generation was actually door knocking. So the first one was cold calling, second was door knocking. I was basically just going into random businesses and saying, hey, you know what, I have this social media marketing company. I would love to help you out with any social media. And that's when you kind of got to go through contracts, pitch them on what you're doing. Sometimes they're going to ask you, actually most of the time, they're going to ask you to create kind of a presentation deck, which you can send it to them via email. What I always do is send it to the client. Send them a presentation deck or a pitch deck the day before our meeting or 2 days before the meeting so they have time to review it. And then of course I bring that deck to the actual pitch in person, pitch them on it, kind of hear about what they what their needs are, and then kind of pitch them various packages. So you can have package 1, for example, which is basic social media marketing. Package 2 could be a mix of social media marketing with website development. Package 3 could be a mix of PR, social media, content creation, etc., etc. So have different packages with different price levels, and that'll definitely keep them comfortable and give them options in terms of selecting a service. That's kind of what I was doing, and I was actually able to close a client for $5,000 a month on a 12-month contract. And we did 3 months trial, and basically if they quit the contract after 3 months, and this was a paid 3 months. So, if they quit within the first 3 months, they didn't have to pay any penalties, but if they quit after the 3-month trial, they would have to pay 20% of the remaining contract left. So I guess if you do it mathematically, they paid $5,000 a month for 3 months, and then they quit. They actually quit with us in 8 months, which was fine. I mean, this was early on in my company. So they quit almost, I think, around month 8. So they had to pay 20% of the remaining 4 months, which was 20% of 20,000, whatever that is. So, or no, 15,000, 20% of 15,000. So you can kind of see the structure that we had, and that was definitely awesome for me. I think the biggest lesson I learned was making sure you deliver all of your deliverables on time. Make sure you're actually providing service on a daily basis, keeping them up to date with what their projects, how their social media statistics are going, sending them daily emails saying, hey, you know what, we grew your Instagram from this to this, and actually providing them value on a daily basis and keeping them in the loop in terms of what you're actually doing for them, and that's going to definitely keep the client more comfortable. So that's a little bit about how you guys can start making $5,000 a month. You can do it through a lot of different ways, but the way I did it was through a media company. So definitely consider doing social media marketing. If you guys have any questions, feel free to hit me up. My email and contact information is down below. And make sure you guys stay tuned for tomorrow's video. And I'll see you guys then. Peace.